Hi, and welcome to this edition of In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric, Executive Director, and I appreciate you taking the time to join me for what hopefully will be an interesting conversation. There are some changes that are going to be coming, a lot of changes actually are going to be coming to the Richmond-Wayne County area through various sources of funding that have come in. You've heard a lot over the last year about HELP, the Hoosier Enduring Legacy Program that has worked its way through. There are a number of events that will take place within various communities around Wayne County that money has been provided for. There is going to be a huge sea change that happens between Earlham College and into the downtown community through a grant from the help me out.
Lilly Endowment.
Lilly Endowment, thank you very much. Almost threw the wrong name out there. And Earlham College. And I've got Dakota Collins here with me from Earlham College, who is going to kind of help take us through what this process has been like and what we can expect in a much shorter time frame, honestly, than I thought it was going to be based on the amount of money that's available. So thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. This is a transformative opportunity for everybody in Richmond, including Earlham. And Earlham is just really excited to be a part of it.
Cool. Before we get into all of that, I know you grew up here. I've had a chance to watch you as a young man and grow up and be involved in what I thought was everything. I was going, can somebody find him something to do? But for those who have just come to the community, and you just, before we did this show, you met somebody who's only been here for 6 months. So we know that people are moving in, moving out. Talk a little bit about your background, your relationship with Earlham, and how you got involved in this.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Richmond, like you said. I technically grew up in a small town just south of Richmond called Boston, Indiana, but went up through the RCS system, got involved with the All-America City team back in 2009.
Seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
Really does. But through that process, I got really involved in the community. I joined various boards at 16 years old, not knowing at all what I was doing. And then through some help of some friends that I met there, like Lynn Clark and Mary Jo Clark and Pat Heine, I decided to stay in town, stay connected with my community, and go to Earlham to pursue my degree. And so there I majored in psychology and minored in business and politics and got involved, continued to get involved in the community and worked in the community for a couple years before coming back and working in the institutional advancement office at my alma mater. And so it's been this sort of circular path, but it's been very, very rewarding to work for my hometown at my alma mater. It's just been exceptional.
Have you had a lot of people ask you why you're still here?
Yeah, all the time, like friends from high school, like, what are you still doing? But it's really just because I fell in love with this community at a young age, and that never really went away. I love the people in Richmond. I think so many people are working so hard every day to make this a better and better and more vibrant place. And I've seen that change happen over the last 10 or 15 years. And I'm thrilled to now be a stronger part of it.
Cool. What we're going to be talking about is what started off and what was really announced to the community at the end of December was a $25 million grant. That's really only the beginning of it based on a conversation that I had with you, and I really didn't realize how large this was going to be. Let's talk about, first of all, the funding and then get into some of the projects and how this all came to be.
Yeah, so the Lilly Endowment released this opportunity to four-year colleges and universities across Indiana back in March, I believe. And Earlham decided this was too great of an opportunity to pass up. So we started thinking, what do we have to do to bring this sort of opportunity to Richmond? And the answer was, we need to talk to community partners because we're really good at what we do and our community partners are really good at what they do. They have information, they've done studies, they've done surveys and strategic plans. So we brought them together and said, one, where would this money do the greatest good? But two, the funder said that the money that they would grant could only cover up to 30% of the total project costs. Fast forward on that math, we have to find $56 million outside of that $25 million in order to support this project as well. And so in talking to our community partners, we said, where is that money available? Where is it already being spent so we can count that towards what we call cost share? And the answer was clear. You know, there's a lot of places in town that $25 million would do a lot of good.
Sure.
But where is a substantial amount being invested right now that we can count as cost share is downtown Richmond. And so that's really where we landed and how we started moving forward from there.
How does this, what is going to take place and what we're going to talk about for the better part of this show, how does it help Richmond, Wayne County, and how does it help Earlham? Because it's got to be a win-win.
That's exactly what the grantors said. They said we want projects that exist for the mutual benefit of the college and the community. Well, the benefit to the community for downtown Richmond is clear, but how does it play into Earlham?
Right.
Earlham is one of the longest serving institutions in Wayne County. We've been around since 1847. Richmond's history is Earlham's history, and Earlham's history is Richmond's history. We've seen and been through a lot together. And so that's why we're so dedicated to helping our community thrive. But we have gone through extensive enrollment processes over the last, decades.
Right.
And we've seen some decline really since the 70s even. And when we talk to prospective students that decided not to come to Earlham, we say, why did you decide? There's always a long list of reasons. Anything could be true. But one of the themes that we kept hearing was, I just don't see myself spending the next 4 years in Richmond, Indiana. And it was really sad to us because, one, we all love Richmond. We've made it our homes, both as employees and as an institution. And so we see that brilliance in the community, but it's not always shared when somebody pops in for a visit to the college.
Okay.
But we've also seen that when we bring potential employees to come, whether it's professors or administrative faculty. Sometimes we get to the end of the process and they say, I don't really want to move to Richmond. And I know that other employers in the county have experienced that as well.
Sure.
What we want to do with Revitalize Richmond is make downtown Richmond, and therefore the broader community, a place where people want to live and build their lives.
What are some of the ways that some of your partners were able to help you all with information? Because to put together a proposal this large, and you mentioned you need, you don't do a grant this size without a lot of extensive data and background information. So what did some of the partners that you have alluded to, who are they, and what did some of them bring to the table?
Yeah, this was a huge grant, a huge proposal with a limited availability to other places. And I think we really stood ahead in our application because we didn't start at 0. We started at 7 out of 10 because of our community partners. So when we sat down and we said, we need to have information behind this decision to pursue investing in downtown Richmond, we got a lot of information back from our community partners, over 3,000 pages of master plans, strategic plans, studies, surveys, everything you could imagine. And so we had to take all that in, digest it, go through it, summarize it to then be used in our proposal. And so what we did after we decided to go for downtown Richmond is that we expanded the community partners that we were working with. So rather than just the really 6 key primary organizations, we said in downtown, we need to look at housing and building rehabilitation. We know that.
Right.
We need to look at vitality and small business support. We know that. And we need to look at things that related to quality of life. So we built these working groups around each of those 3 areas and filled them with people that work on this stuff day in and day out. Experienced entrepreneurs, people that are involved in nonprofits working downtown, city government officials, county government officials. We had the gamut. There were 40 or 50 people that met every single week, did homework in between for several months to really hone in what these projects could be that would realistically get done in the timeline, that would have significant impact on downtown and had that appropriate cost share attached to them.
I mentioned near the beginning of this conversation that this is all going to come to fruition in a faster time frame than I thought. And when I heard $25 million and then I heard there was some additional money, I'm going, okay, this is a 10 to 15 year potential project. I had a chance to speak to you and you went, no, shorten that by about 2/3 of that longest projection.
Yeah.
This has to, from start to finish, be done in a 5-year time frame.
5 years, yeah.
How are you all going to do that? That sounds like a lot. When you start talking about the fact that there is basically $100 million that needs to be spent strategically and based around this grant that you all wrote.
Yeah, so one thing I didn't mention, I said we needed $56 million, but because this community is just so incredible, we ended up with $83 million in cost share.
That's incredible.
Plus the 25, well over $100 million, like you said, and we've got to spend it all and get all these projects done in a 5-year timeline. So how are we going to do it? We're going to move very fast. We're going to do it deliberately. We're going to do it carefully because we want things to be done right, but we don't ever have time to go back to the drawing board. Decisions have been made about this proposal. That's how grants work. You know, we submit a proposal with a very clear budget, and the grantor approved that. So that's the plan we're going with. So we've got some things to figure out, don't get me wrong, but we've already got our map to move forward for the next 5 years because that's what our proposal was.
Let's start in on some of this.
Yeah.
And you tell me where you think you want to start with this.
Let's see. So those 3 pillars that I talked about with our working groups, we modified those a little bit to be a little bit more succinct for our proposal and a little bit more catchy. So our new 3 pillars are A, B, C: activate, build, and connect. So we can start there.
Okay.
So with, I guess let's start with build. We're doing a lot of historic renovation downtown. There are already some projects happening. A lot of people are aware of the Elder Bierman project, in which that building will be raised and a new 150 unit market rate apartments are going to be built there. We're very excited. That was a significant portion of our cost share for this opportunity.
Okay, so somebody else is doing that project, but you all can build that into.
Luckily, that project, they're not quite all the way there, but that project is on the road to be fully funded.
Right.
What that means is that we can take the money that we were granted and apply it to other areas. So we're relying on all of that cost share to come in order to make that project successful.
Okay.
And so we're trying to sort of mimic that in certain ways throughout downtown by focusing on buildings that are in need of renovation and turning them into places where people can actually live. How do you make a vibrant downtown? One way is to get people to visit, but another way is to have people live there day in and day out because they want to be near those amenities that we've built. So all in all, we're looking at putting in, with the Elder Bierman building, probably about 300 market rate apartments or workforce rate apartments downtown.
So another 150 on top of what that building is going to provide?
That is the goal.
That's a lot of renovation.
It's a lot, and I've had people ask me, do we need that many apartments downtown? We as a community have done several housing studies over the past several years. Every housing study has indicated that that type of housing stock is needed and will be filled in Wayne County. We've talked to other employers of Earlham size and larger, and they've said, I've got people that work for me that are ready to move into these apartments today. We are excited. We're going to be able to recruit better. We're going to be able to retain better, because what a lot of people in town have to remember is that we have a lot of people working in Richmond and Wayne County that live elsewhere, and they drive in. Let's give them a place that they want to live right here with a great apartment experience and those local amenities right downtown.
Okay. What's next? You're building, and have you, okay, I'm going to go back, and I know that there may be some things that you can't say right now, but have you all identified the buildings you think you are going to go after, and will you all, Earlham, be the purchaser and owner of these buildings?
That's a great question. We have ideas of buildings, but they haven't been formally selected.
Okay.
The way Revitalize Richmond will work is that we are primarily funding our community partners to do the work that they're experienced and already doing.
Okay.
I think a great example of this is Richmond Neighborhood Restoration. You know, they've been around for, I think, around a decade now. They've done some really, really incredible like single family houses around town. And then they recently did the former Secret Ingredient building downtown. They put 4 incredible apartments upstairs. They're just gorgeous. We want them to do that 3 to 5 times over the next 5 years. And so we'll be working closely with them to select those buildings and to figure out exactly what things will look like. But they're the experts. Why would Earlham want to come in and take the place of an expert? We don't. We want to take what they want to do already, but like you said, rather than on a 10 or 15 or 20-year timeline, let's do it in 5. Let's have a really big impact right now.
Okay. As you continue into the downtown area with some of this, how does this continue to expand? You're building there. What is it that you're activating?
Yeah, activating, I think, is where a lot of the really fun stuff is. Everything's necessary, but I think people are really going to get a kick out of some of this activate stuff. So one place that we're investing substantially is in the Whitewater Gorge. I think people in town don't realize really how close the gorge is to downtown. It's like 2 or 3 blocks from the edge of what we sort of consider downtown proper. So it's within our application district. And again, relying on our partners, relying on experts, the Richmond Parks and Recreation Department, under the leadership of Denise Retz, has established the Whitewater Gorge Activation Plan. And what that does is strategic infrastructure investments, including parking and accessibility and a number of things. But then there's also the aspect that is sort of almost like an adventure park down in the gorge. We're talking about a zip line, we're talking about kayaking and canoeing, we're talking about a river walk, all of these things that Revitalize Richmond is hoping to fund over the next 5 years. That could really serve not only as a great opportunity for our citizens, but also will attract visitors in. And Earlham students are going to love it.
And some of that work has begun. They've already begun taking out the Weir Dam.
The Weir Dam is gone.
And that's going to be a piece of this. You're talking about building a boardwalk along there for people to be able to walk, helping the ecosystem that is there in a lot of ways, and improvements at Test Road and some of the areas that kind of lead into that.
Yeah.
The pictures that we are seeing up, and one of the questions, it says proposed canoe and kayak launch. How close to the look of what we're seeing do you all need to stay in order to make this work? And I don't know how much deviation you can have in your grant based on, I assume you showed some of these renderings.
We did show some of these renderings. These are from the actual gorge activation plan that's been approved by the Parks Department. Okay. For our proposal, we stick to it in concept. You know, especially the renderings. There are some things actually in the narrative of the proposal that we laid out a little bit more specifically, but when we're looking at these images, it's in general. And I think the Parks Department has this goal in mind that things will look like this, but are you going to be able to take that same picture 5 years from now and have it be reality? Maybe not quite so much.
But it'll be much better than what it is, much
Hopefully
more usable
than
than what it is.
Yeah.
It will help not only the Parks Department, it'll help tourism in their conversations with people.
Absolutely. And I give a lot of tours to prospective employees, both from Richmond and other people that are, both from Earlham and from other places. And I always take them down into Star Jeanette Plaza. I mean, how could you not talk about the history there?
Sure.
And I have to say, and there's a river right behind these trees. Just trust me. It's over there. It's very cool, but we're not getting out of the car because it's cold. But once we get through this plan, there will be strategic investments along the shoreline too, to really reveal that river and make it really accessible to people.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We're spending time with Dakota Collins from Earlham College talking about the grant that was received, started at $25 million. With the money that's being added in and other work that's being done, there'll be over $100 million spent in that area between Earlham College and into the downtown area, which I think includes maybe some of the Depot District, or no?
So our proposed area for this project specifically is
Okay.
from the Gorge to 13th Street along Main,
Okay.
and then from A to A.
From A to A. Okay. So that's going to change the look
Yeah.
of that area a great deal from what people know. Have you been out on a zip line to see whether that's something you're going to...
I love a good zip line.
Do you really?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Yeah, I've done it several times. It's a lot of fun. Zip lined in a cave in Louisville.
Okay. Wow.
Ours is going to be better than that.
Okay. Talk about specifically in the downtown area, and you've talked about some of the housing possibilities that are down there. And obviously, you put people down there, they want a place to go for their morning coffee. They want their morning donut. They need their newspaper if they're not getting it online. And I'm surprised at the number of people who still want to hold a physical newspaper. You would think that would have gone by the wayside, but that is still one of those things. They want to be able to walk in the evening. Obviously, it will be close to Elstro Plaza, which has already become a very vibrant place in the community. Talked about there has to be a win-win between Earlham College and the community. Talk a little bit about the win for Earlham and their students, besides potentially being able to attract more students. Once you get them there, how does this affect what they are able to do and how they are able to learn more about the community? Because I know there's students that have ended up on your campus
Oh my gosh, yeah.
who have never been able to really make it out and learn about the community.
Yeah. One of the most disheartening things about my job is that sometimes we'll do like bus tours of Richmond for students, and we'll get this big bus and load them up, and I'll do this tour all around town, and they get so jazzed. And I'm talking to them as they get off the bus, and they'll say, "Man, I wish I would have known about this before." And I'm like, "This is fine. You get to experience it now." Well, I'm a senior.
Yeah.
Oh man, we missed out on this great opportunity to help you feel as though you could stay in town and build a life here, which is what we really want. Like, we want to attract students, but we also want our graduates to stay in town and become Richmond citizens and open up their own businesses and work in our industry and buy houses and all of these apartments.
And as I talk to people, there are more Earlham grads here than I was even aware of.
Yeah, yeah. There are quite a few, and they're doing really, really cool stuff in town. They're utilizing that world-class education that they got from Richmond, and they're putting it to use right here, or from Earlham, excuse me, and they're putting it to use right here in Richmond.
Yeah. So talk about the students and their connection to this and how this helps connect them to the community, and particularly into the downtown area.
Yeah. So we sort of did some listening sessions and some surveys of Earlham students and faculty and staff during this planning process before we submitted the proposal. And we were thrilled to find out that our internal Earlham community and what we got from our Richmond partners was identical. Everybody wanted the same thing. So that made our jobs a lot easier. But Earlham students said they would go downtown for two reasons. One, if there was something to do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Those are your words. If there's something to do, something that's attractive to spend their time doing downtown. And two, if there was a safe way to get there. So both of those also played into what we learned from our community partner. So we tried to accomplish both of them. So these things to do, they tend to end up being businesses, right? Entertainment-based businesses, retail businesses, restaurants. And even through the grant, Earlham, Revitalize Richmond, we're not in the business of opening up businesses ourselves. Like, that is outside of the purview of this. But what we want to do is help create a launching pad for current and budding entrepreneurs. So one of the things we're doing is partnering with Main Street Richmond, one of our primary partners, and they're going to be hiring a full-time business coach for local entrepreneurs, both the existing ones and ones that are interested in opening up a business but don't quite know how. I use the example of somebody that's a really great chef and they have this passion about working in their own kitchen, but they have no idea how to open and run a restaurant. This person will be able to help with that. And it goes beyond just giving advice that's solicited. This person is going to be out in the community, going to farmers markets, looking for people that would be really great small business owners or entrepreneurs and helping them realize a potential vision that could make that a reality. And so they'll be out there really focusing in on those populations. But with anything, with any entrepreneurship, there is some inherent risk. We want to mitigate some of that risk while still empowering entrepreneurs. So the other thing that Main Street Richmond is going to do is contract with a national firm. And their job is to create a landscape of what downtown Richmond looks like and where we want to go. And then they will look regionally at really successful businesses, people that already have great business models, but these businesses are independently owned and operated. And so these organizations, these businesses, they might be ready to expand into a brand new market. Let's make sure that market is Richmond. It's downtown Richmond in the Depot District. We want to bring those people in. And we're hedging our bet a little bit there because these people already know how to run their business. They've got a model that works in Bloomington or Muncie or Dayton or somewhere else, and they can bring that here in Richmond and reach a whole new market.
This ties in very well, obviously, with some of what I heard election night, having a chance to speak to some of our local political leaders, where two or three of them were saying downtown and retail are the things that I am most concerned about right now. We have to bring our downtown back. We have to bring people to it, and we have to bring some new businesses and help our existing businesses. So this ties very closely, you mentioned, with what a lot of people are thinking at this moment.
Yeah, I think those independently owned businesses downtown are really important. If we want to see that vibrancy, we need people like you were talking about to want to go downtown, walk around, go from one business to the other. And while those living spaces are really important because we want people to have access to those amenities right away, I currently live on the east side. I don't just shop and eat on the east side. I still go downtown. I go to the Depot District. Sure. I even go to Centerville and Cambridge City. I'll drive to these places. And so I think creating this hub of commerce downtown will be beneficial, not just to the people that are living right there, but people that are living all over our community and in the county too.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We're having a conversation with Dakota Collins from Earlham College about a grant that was accepted, that they've got won. Yeah. And the party continues, and now the work has to go on. But we're finding out a little bit more of the detail about what was going on. We're going to take a break. We'll be back, talk a little bit more about the plan and about Earlham College in particular when we continue with In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11.
At St. Vincent de Paul, we work tirelessly to help others help themselves. We work to give people the tools they need to escape the grip of poverty. Our furniture ministry provides clean and comfortable furniture for those going through major changes. We give tables, chairs, sofas, and beds to anyone who needs them. The Changing Lives Forever program pairs people with a mentor who will help them learn valuable skills to work their way out of poverty. Our commercial kitchen has the tools for people to learn how to cook healthy and delicious meals. To learn more information about St. Vincent de Paul, call or send us an email. At Help the Animals Inc. in Richmond, we strive to find our cats and dogs forever homes. Adoption is as easy as filling out our online application. Every pet that leaves our shelter is spayed, neutered, and up to date on vaccinations. Volunteering at the shelter can be a rewarding experience. Come to our orientation on the second Saturday of every month. Want to learn more? Visit our website at helptheanimalsinc.com. Like us on Facebook or call 765-962-6811. Help the Animals Inc. Finding your next best friend.
Richmond Sanitary District curbside service in your neighborhood. Bag trash goes in your green Rosie roller. Loose unbagged recyclables go in your blue Ritchie roller. Aluminum and steel cans, plastic bottles and jugs, glass bottles and jars, newspapers and magazines should be placed on top of the Ritchie roller. Folded broken down corrugated cardboard is collected in the tan roller. Please call Debbie Tevis at 765-983-7456 to sign up. Richmond Sanitary District. Our goal is to grow.
Hi, I'm Allison Zeidel from the Stam Koshline Family Foundation. We are proud to support Wayne County organizations that are making life better for the youth of our community. Each year, we grant over $250,000 to roughly 30 groups and organizations. We also bring nonprofit leaders together to learn from each other and collaborate. We love building trust and meaningful partnerships. To learn more about how Stam Koshline Family Foundation is impacting the community, we invite you to visit our website at stamkoshline.org or follow us on Facebook.
Welcome back to In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric, Executive Director of Whitewater Community Television, and I really do appreciate you spending some time with us as we have a conversation with Dakota Collins about a grant that was worked very hard by a number of people, and received. It was announced to the community just before the end of the year. And now it is time to begin to lay out some of what's going to happen here over the next, ambitiously, 5 years to get this done. It will transform how some of our buildings in downtown Richmond look. It will transform how people, to a certain extent, even get around, and continue to transform what people are able to do, and I might even say learn, in the downtown area. Absolutely. Because one piece of this is, we talked about some of the Earlham grads that have that are around and have done good work here. There is a husband and wife team that have purchased it was Kessler when I came, BSN Sports building right there at 10th and Main Street, and they're going to turn that into a maker space.
They sure are.
I've heard makerspace used as a term for the last 8 to 10 years, it seems like. But when I ask people about it, what it is, the answers always come back a little different. And maybe it's meant to be that way. Maybe it's meant to be a little bit different based on where you are and the needs of the community.
I think so.
How is this makerspace at this moment, and again, things are changing, being defined, and what do you think will come from it?
Yeah, so we're really proud of Eric and Becky Dimick Eastman, class of 96 and 97, Earlham respectively, and their vision for this sort of community center that exists as this makerspace. Really, we're still defining bits and pieces of it. Well, Eric and Becky are. They're the primary leaders, and we're there to support them through this. But the way I think about this is that this program is going to foster and inspire creativity in all of its forms, no matter what that might be. So we're going to work with them, and we'll bringing in certain different types of equipment that people can do or can use, something that they might not be able to invest in for themselves, they'll be able to use here at the space. And it could be anything from woodworking to making a hat to doing 3D printing to literally anything is possible within this space. And I think, just like you said, a maker space exists to support the community's needs. So over the years that this space exists, we might see it grow and contract in different areas to fit the needs that the community is defining. But I think the most important piece is that it serves as this sort of center point for education and discovery downtown. And it exists in just this perfect location because it's right there on the corner of 10th and Main, catty corner from the theater. It's almost nearly across the street from Ply Creative, and they're doing a lot of really amazing things down there.
Oh, definitely.
With fiber arts and ceramics now. And so I think we're going to have this little hub on that corner that people can go and just be creative and discover new skills. And we're really interested in how Earlham educational programming can intersect with that. And we've got a ton of opportunity there, and we're still defining it. But I think about we just established a new engineering program, which we're really excited about.
Okay.
And so how can we help support the makerspace and bring Earlham students that are studying engineering to do some of that classwork, not only downtown, but in that makerspace specifically. And they can have lunch downtown, they can shop downtown, all while they're down there. And so that sort of unification of the Earlham community and the Richmond community in that hub of downtown is also a really important piece of Revitalize Richmond. So some of the budget for this is going to be dedicated to doing some of those programmatic things. How do we bring Earlham students into downtown for festivals, for new events, for whatever it is, and also how do we bring our community members to Earlham, because we do a lot of really cool events at Earlham too.
Oh, without a
So
doubt.
how do we open that up to community members more? And I think the makerspace is the first step in that.
The question that you just asked, how do we bring Earlham students into downtown, I think becomes a part of your connect
Right.
with this, I
Yes.
think. Talk about what that looks like and what you all have planned in that way. Because, yeah, they could walk,
Sure.
but on days like, it's cold when we're
Right.
recording this
Yeah.
conversation. We're in this stretch where we can't seem to find the freezing mark yet. When you have that, when you have rain, when they're carrying books and other things, how do you make that connection?
Yeah. So Connect is that third pillar, and it's all about connecting the community to downtown, but also the Earlham community to downtown.
Right.
And so one really exciting piece of this is we're going to be supporting some innovative strategies for Roseview public transit system. There could be a rebranding plan that could include new routes, the development of a mobile app, maybe it's completely rebranded, but it would probably maintain the hours that it has. Which sometimes tends to exclude evenings and weekends. A big
Yes.
deficit for our public transportation system. So how can we help fix that within the context of this grant? As you can see, Earlham and downtown are just over a mile away. So what we're going to do with the accompaniment of a federal transportation grant is purchase an electric bus that will really be nice and be wrapped to look like a trolley and have that sort of more urban public transportation feel. And it will loop around downtown in the Depot District for anybody and everybody to hop on and hop off. You can go to the Cordial Cork and grab dinner and a drink, and then go over to Richmond Civic Theater for a show, and then loop back to your car all over the evenings and weekends. And then the trolley will also come to Earlham to pick up Earlham students to easily bring them into the downtown and Depot District and provide them a safe opportunity to get back. And so we're really, really excited about that. Now, as a lot of people know, Earlham students also do like to walk. Walking is a primary mode of transportation for them, and also biking. And so we want to ease that process from campus to downtown. When we talked to them about it during the planning process, they said, like I mentioned earlier, they'd go downtown if there was something to do there and if they could safely get there. When people think about US 40 right outside of Earlham, it's a big road. It feels unsafe sometimes. It goes lane, curb, sidewalk. There's no street park. There's no buffer. And so Earlham students don't even really love walking down that road, let alone trying to bike actually on 40 is really challenging, especially like you mentioned in the winter. So we would like to create a connector from campus to downtown that would actually cross 40 right at the entrance of campus, go down Southwest 8th Street a couple blocks to West Main.
Okay.
And then on West Main, there will be a great opportunity for Earlham student or for anybody, but we're focusing on Earlham students to ride or bike all the way into downtown, where the current bike lane picks up, the loop picks up at, I think it's First Street, right at the
First Street,
entrance
yeah.
to.
You've got the entrance to
Star
Star-Jeanette as
Right.
well as the Veterans Park.
Yeah, so we'll really be connecting also the other way too. So anybody can go from Clear Creek Park down West Main Street all the way to downtown Richmond.
Nice.
Yeah.
That will make
I think
it
that'll be really
good.
great for West Side residents as well.
Yeah. As you look at this, and we talked about where the maker space is going to be and realize that they're close to the theater, some of the other things. But that is an area right now that is actually having some investment, really is beautifying itself a little bit by
Yeah.
some of the work that's happening with some of the buildings down there. A couple of those already have tenant owners
Yeah.
in them. Is beautification in any way part of this conversation?
It is. We haven't exactly defined what that looks like quite yet. We want to work, that's one of those little gray areas. We've got some ideas, but we want to work closer with community partners and people currently investing in downtown. But in general, we're talking about enhanced green space. We're talking about public art. We're talking about really good wayfinding signage. So people both in town and more importantly from out of town can find their way from downtown to the Depot District because they're like 3 or 4 blocks apart. They're so close. I walked all the way around both a couple times, and each time it surprised me how quickly I could do it, even with stopping in places. And so some of that wayfinding signage I think is really important for our visitors and like new residents.
Cool. Before we move off of this, is there anything that we have not touched on at this moment? And obviously, we're going to have you back to talk a little bit more about this, particularly once some of the construction and things like that start. But what do you need the community to know and understand about some of these projects at this stage?
Yeah. I think the important thing for everybody to remember is that, well, 2 things. This is a huge opportunity for Richmond and Earlham, and it still won't get us to any sort of finish line, if there even is a finish line for what a perfect downtown looks like.
Sure.
That's not our goal because that's too far off. What we want to do is create a launching pad for future success, for more organizations, more business owners, more non and for-profits to do even bigger and better things. So at the end of 5 years, what we want is a clear path and opportunity to move forward, not necessarily crossing that finish line. And the second thing is, even though we have this great opportunity, Revitalize Richmond, we can't do it ourselves. We need people in this community to go downtown, support local business owners, support the nonprofits that are working downtown, either through volunteering or donating your time, talent, and treasure to those opportunities or to those nonprofits. We really have to galvanize together as a community and really focus all of our collective energies on downtown if we really want to see it succeed. We can do our best to bring in all the exciting businesses and all these amenities and all these living opportunities that we can, but it won't be successful without this community getting behind it.
Talked about bringing in businesses. Earlham College has gone into the, I don't know, the tenant business, I guess you all created on the west side of town.
Yeah.
Earlham Commons.
Yeah.
There's nobody in it at this moment,
Not
but
yet.
there have been not yet, but there have been a couple of announcements. Talk about, if you can, what made you all decide to go this route, to purchase that land, to build that strip mall, basically, and who you all have at this point that has been announced to come in, and what's the time frame?
Yeah, we're really, really excited about Earlham Commons. It was pursued in the same general push as why we pursued Revitalize Richmond, is because it's good for the community and it's good for the college. So Earlham students want some more places to go. Of course, this was before Revitalize Richmond, and we wanted some place that was really close for them.
Sure.
So we already owned those properties there. There were some houses there. They were really dilapidated. We couldn't put students in them for a living. We talked about what are we going to do with this property. And so we entered into sort of this public-private partnership with a land lease that building's being built on. And there are 4 business opportunities in the space, and they filled 2 of them. One, you can check it out on Earlham's Instagram page. There's this great video about a company called Roots by a company out of Union City. And they're bringing in farm-to-table, fresh food. It's going to be really great. We're really excited about it. And then on the other side, as you can see, is Parlor Donuts. They've opened up a lot of new locations recently, still independently owned. Like, we're really excited about them. And I think Earlham students are going to love this. And the West Side Richmond residents are going to love it too. It's going to
How
be
can
this
you
great
not love a
shopping
place to
opportunity
get
for them.
donuts?
Right. Donuts and fresh food. Like, what could be better? Yeah.
Nice. Any idea when the first of those tenants will actually begin operating?
We're hoping this spring.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
what-
it's going to be really close.
Yeah, we've got some things we're working on with the site plan and working with a developer and working with some of those businesses, but things are moving forward. We had some delays towards the end of COVID, some supply chain issues and things like that, but we're pushing for it. We're excited about it.
Cool. Recently, a few months ago, your president, Ann Hausman, decided that she was going to step away.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was planned, whether it was just something that happened, but talk about where that process is at this point and how you all are going about finding a new president.
Yeah, so Ann's been at Earlham. She's our 20th president, our first female president ever. She's a Quaker, which really speaks to our Quaker roots. And she's had a really, really great 5 years in this job. I mean, we've expanded our signature education program, EPIC. I don't think a lot of a lot of community members know that every student that comes to Earlham has the opportunity to get $5,000 for an experiential learning opportunity. They can go anywhere, do anything, and it's paid for by the college. And that was something that Ann really helped expand. And also under her tenure, we established Inspire Earlham, which means that any Indiana low to medium income family gets tuition free at Earlham. It opens the door for a lot of Hoosier kids to come to Earlham and not assume massive amounts of debt. And so, plus, revitalize Richmond.
And oh yeah.
Yeah. So Ann has had this really, really great tenure, and now she's retiring. Her and her husband Will have purchased a place on the edge of Centerville, Indiana. So they're actually staying in town. They're
I
going to
saw that
continue
she
to be
was actually
involved.
going to stay in town.
Yeah, yeah. So she's really excited to continue engaging in the community, but she's ready to retire, and I certainly can't fault her for that. So we're actually in the midst of a presidential search right now. There's been a search committee established. We've engaged a firm, so we're doing this big national search, and we're hoping to have somebody announced in the spring, with them coming in probably sometime in the summer.
Okay.
That would be the goal.
That would be the goal. Talk a little bit about, and it's been mentioned in the conversations that I've had even now, COVID has continued to come up. It changed the landscape, I think, a lot more than people know for institutions like Earlham that were very used to inviting people in. I mean, I've seen some great speakers, some incredible performances sitting in Goddard
Oh my gosh.
Auditorium. That stopped for a while. Just recently, we had Joe Lapone on talking about some of what you all have coming up this spring. Talk a little bit about what it's like to, for lack of a better term, kind of reopen the college, reintroduce it in some ways to the community, and what you're hoping and how you all are hoping to move that forward.
Yeah, COVID was really challenging for our sort of community relations arm because we have been a community institution for a long time. We love inviting Richmond, Wayne County, and even further out residents to come to events and engage with Earlham students on campus. But we had to make really difficult decisions because while we had classes going on in the latter part of COVID and into like 2021 and whatnot, we had students on campus, and it's their home first and foremost. Like, they live there full time while classes are in session. And so it was very difficult for us to navigate that sort of really fine line between being in that community engagement realm and bringing people in, but basically inviting people into students' living rooms when sometimes that's not what they were interested in because they were trying to protect their own health. So we always go back to what is best for student safety and education. And so we did have to shut down things for quite a while. But now getting back into it, we're really excited. We've got this special fund that was contributed to by a donor, an Earlham alum, that is bringing in some really incredible speakers. The first one was Van Jones. It was back in September,
Yeah, back
I believe.
in the fall.
Such a great event, great speakers. And that's really the caliber of event that we want to continue to provide. We want Earlham to be this cultural and educational hub for the region. We want people to know when they come see an event at Earlham that it's going to be engaging and thought-provoking and hopefully empowering. And then they can get to know Earlham students, and we frequently have pretty robust conversations after those events, usually with the speaker. There's sort of a back and forth question and answer, and I have just been a part of so many really engaging conversations during a Q&A period, and it's because we're inviting all these different people and perspectives and cultures into one room to discuss sometimes really heavy and heady topics. And so we want to continue doing that for ever, really, and hopefully expand into doing some more fun things as well. Yeah.
Define fun things.
I don't know. We're still figuring it out. We're still
Okay.
figuring it out. Every once in a while, we'll host like little festivals for students and things. How do we expand those and bring other people in? One time, we had a festival. It was for an event I was running, and I noticed a whole bunch of high school kids there, and I was so surprised, thrilled, but surprised. Where did you all come from? They had walked over from the high school because they had heard the music. And so, yeah, we said, come on in, have some food, listen to music. We had games and stuff. Also, here's a brochure for Earlham. Always be enrolling. That's it.
You all had, when I came to town, it was a reputation, whether it was true or not, that the bulk of your students, and at that time, I'm not even sure what your enrollment was, but that the bulk of your students were out-of-state and international students. It sounds like, from what I'm hearing, and you can tell me whether what I'm hearing is right or wrong, Earlham is spending more time and more thought trying to get more local, regional,
Yes.
in-state type of students. Is that true?
Yes, it is true. So traditionally, I'm working off some old data here, but we've seen about 25% of our student body be international, representing 70 to 80 different countries across the globe. Almost every state is usually represented on campus. So we do have a very national and global community here in Richmond on our campus. And we're not letting go of that. Like that is still... Those are still students that we're pursuing. We want to come here because it helps enrich our campus community, and if everything goes to plan, hopefully a lot of those students will want to live in Richmond and Wayne County, further enriching the Richmond-Wayne County community. But we do recognize that we need to be good neighbors. We want Indiana students, we want Ohio students and Kentucky students to also feel welcome, supported, and like Earlham is a great place for them to grow as well. So we've established sort of a new enrollment and recruitment program through our admissions department that focuses in on a 150-mile radius around Earlham. And so we're sending out additional counselors doing additional recruitment efforts within that sort of radius to help bring in more local students. And that does include Richmond-Wayne County.
The voice in my head says our minutes are ticking by, that we've got just about 4.5 minutes left. So before I let you go, and obviously, again, I'm going to have you back multiple times to talk about the plan here and the grant and the work, but also to continue to update us with Earlham College, because you mentioned very early on the relationship between Earlham and the city of Richmond, Wayne County has been there for a long time, and it's something that you all want to grow. But what haven't I asked you about Earlham that you really right now feel like this community needs to know, or that Earlham wants this community to know?
I think there have been some times where, because of things like COVID or various things, where Earlham has done what it needed to do to thrive and survive. Like I talked about, we sort of pulled in for student safety during COVID. There have been other examples of that. And so sometimes we've been seen as not the best community partner because we're not out there as much, but that's different now. And I think that's what I want everybody to know is Earlham's back at the table. Earlham is here to support Richmond and Wayne County to the absolute best of our ability. We want to do things like Revitalize Richmond, even beyond Revitalize Richmond. We want Richmond and Wayne County students, like I just mentioned, to know that they can go to school in their backyard like I did and have a really great experience, not feel like they're going to school, 4 blocks from their high school. You know, it is such a different experience on campus when you're really there. And so I would just hope that everybody would at least consider looking or encourage local high school students to consider to look at Earlham, because there are really exceptional educational opportunities. Like I mentioned, the Epic the Epic Journey, and then the overall Epic program. There are so many really great things, and I just encourage everybody to go to earlham.edu and just start exploring all of the great things happening on campus.
I will say, I've heard some really great musicians
Yeah.
over the last couple of years. We had a chance to record Forrest Toby when he played at the Reed Center, which was an incredible experience. Had a chance to hear Addison Jordan play a couple of different times here on campus as part of the Faculty and Friends series. Saw him play actually for the installation here for Chancellor Rome. So yeah, a lot of good things happening. Have greatly appreciated the time. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to having you back.
It's been a lot of fun.
Cool. A couple of things we want to remind you of before we head out of here. Richmond Meltdown Festival is going on this weekend. There are plenty of activities that you can see and do and go out and enjoy. We've been talking a lot about Elstro Plaza. Go out and enjoy some of Elstro Plaza and the things happening around the area. RichmondMeltdown.com is the place where you can go and get more information about that. Check out Richmond Civic Theater. We've talked about them in the downtown area. The Gods of Comedy are going to be playing 18th through the 20th, 26th through the 28th. And also, if you've thought about being on stage, coming up February 3rd, Saturday, and February 4th, which is a Sunday, they will be having auditions for Something's Rotten. So if you ever thought about being on stage, that is a great place to cut your teeth and have a whole lot of fun. So check out the auditions for Something's Rotten. City of Richmond has announced that they are going to have 6 free historic preservation workshops. The first of those are beginning Saturday, January 27th from 9 to noon. That's at the William Scott Banquet Room on North 10th Street, 983-7200 if you need more information on that. And don't forget, there is always some great music going on, various free concerts, particularly at noon on the first and third Wednesdays at the Reed Center. So lots to see, lots to do. Definitely go out and enjoy. I want to thank my guest, Dakota Collins, for coming in and spending a lot of time with me and explaining a lot of what's going on. If you missed any of this conversation, obviously replays are available all over. It is also available on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page.
And you can go to earlham.edu/revitalize Richmond.
All right. Have yourself a great weekend. As always, I wish you well.